Bears Panthers grades in yesterday's huge win, and make no mistake about it, it was absolutely huge. It was a monstrous win. Some are trying to downplay it and say, well, it was the Panthers. I pointed this out on Twitter. I'm just going to point it out briefly on here because this doesn't have to do with the PFF stats for this game. But the Panthers coming into this game were the number one offensive line in the entire NFL. They had only allowed 1 sack through 4 games. Against the Bears, they allowed 4. 4. And on the defensive side of the ball, it might seem like they're a weaker opponent. They are average. They're below average probably. But they'd only allowed 240 passing yards to one team so far this year. And it was like 140 and 160 and 200 before that. Caleb Williams had 300 passing yards in a windy Soldier Field. Make no mistake about it. This was a big-time game with big-time plays, teams stepping up in team fashion overall, offense, defense, everything. This game clicked. And just like in the post-game interviews, if the team can play like this consistently, this is a freaking scary team. So as we do, for those of you who are new to the channel, I go through the offensive studs, duds. I go through different spots on places that are an emphasis for me with pass rushing, with pass blocking, with run blocking, to show where this team is, what they did in this game, where they're progressing. So if you don't mind, hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't subscribed. I appreciate it. I do a lot of this content throughout the season. I do a lot of analytical dive stuff. But I want to point out here the offensive studs. And this needs to be noted. Look at how many guys. Usually when I show these, there's 2 or 3 or 4 guys above 65. I like to show guys above 65 to show those guys that are really standing out. Look at the offensive line here. You got Tevin Jenkins, Bill Murray at 83.9. And no, this wasn't just against backups. They were still trying when Bill Murray came in. The Panthers hadn't put in Bryce Young and hadn't put in their backup secondary, their backup defensive line yet. Bill Murray, just like in the preseason, Bill Murray was one of the biggest standouts, a converted defensive lineman who now plays offensive guard for the Bears. Had a very spectacular game, 100% pass block efficiency. He needs to get a few more reps when the opportunity is right. Braxton Jones, 73.5. Coleman Shelton, 72.2. Darnell Wright, 71.1. The offensive line did a very good job in this game, and they need to be praised as such because there was clear effort on the focus of the Bears. I mean, guys were hustling. On those screen passes, if you didn't see Braxton Jones, Coleman Shelton, Tevin Jenkins running down the field, you weren't watching the offensive linemen. They were clearly an emphasis of this game, and they did a killer job. Cole Kmet, 73.1, which is a huge improvement for him. DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, Caleb Williams, all with big games. All really stood out in this game. On the pass blocking side, I show all the pass blocking. So it might look like I'm trying to pick on DeAndre Swift or Doug Kramer. I'm not. Look, Doug Kramer was in for one pass play and one other play, and he made a mistake. He had a penalty. So he's graded very, very lowly, but it's on a very limited basis. If you look at the entire top, though, this is the emphasis of all. This is everyone with the pass blocking grade in this game. Look at how many are above 70. They protected Caleb. He had 1 sack, and it was on the first drive of the game, and it was really just things didn't open up, and he held it onto it a little too long, and he'd probably say he should have thrown it away, but it was the very first drive of the game. For some reason, we feel like we start a little slow, but in this game, it was 1 drive start slow, and then took off and gone, and this team was spectacular. But look at every single player here. I mean, it was spectacular. 87.5, 85.7. Look at the Blues. We never see this many Blues on pass blocking. And you've got our starting right guard, you've got our starting left guard, our starting left tackle, and our starting center. All of them in the Blues. And then right below that, our starting right tackle at 73, which to me, I highlight anything above 65. So all these guys had a killer game. And even Nate Davis, who only came in for a very limited sample on this one, 72.5. Roshan Johnson back to his pass blocking protection ways, 72.4. Cole Kmet had a much better game at pass blocking. This is a very positive game to take from this. Yes, I understand the Panthers are weak on the pass rush. I highlighted that before the game. But in years past, that's one of the problems with this Bears team. They wouldn't step up against the weak opponents and they ended up being close games or we'd lose those. We blew them out. That's worth emphasizing. It needs to be pointed out. So this was huge. And then on run blocking, there needs to be some work done, but there are some guys to highlight. I mean, I show everyone, and really, it's pretty spread across here, but some of these guys shouldn't even be having a run blocking grade. Like Caleb Williams, he got a 60, but I mean, he shouldn't even be out the run blocking, but that's just, he ended up getting a grade because he did end up making a couple blocks. But you look at the top of this, Bill Murray, again at the top. I can't even emphasize how much I'm excited for Bill Murray and his development. He needs to get some more reps. He needs to get an opportunity, especially if anybody starts to falter. Now, heaven forbid, I'm knocking on wood, we don't want to see someone get injured. It's nice to know Bill Murray is stepping up to the plate if that happens, though. But look at all these guys. 79.2, 78.8, 73.4, 68.6 from Matt Pryor. Coleman Shelton, 67.7. Darnell Wright, 67.4. Mercedes Lewis, 64.8. Braxton Jones, 64.6. All those guys right around the 65 mark that I said I like for starters. That's really good to see. I love to see that. So all those guys and above, I mentioned it. Braxton Jones, Coleman Shelton, Matt Pryor, Tevin Jenkins. If you didn't see them running down the field, you weren't watching. So this was a very, very good game. I'm probably overemphasizing it, guys. This was a huge game for the offensive line. I really loved it. I hope they can continue to take that momentum and build from it going into the flight to Jacksonville, or to London and playing Jacksonville. That would be huge. And then I moved to the offensive duds, those guys that were below 50. None. What a good game. All right, on to the defensive side of the ball, the studs on defense. Jalen Jones, who wasn't in on a lot, but he had 9 snaps, 92.0 grade. His coverage was phenomenal. Kevin Byard obviously had the interception, 91.7. This was a big bounce back game for our linebackers. They needed this. Tremaine Edmonds with an 85.4. Amen Ogbong-Mamiga, who came in very sparingly at the end, 79.6. TJ Edwards, 69.9. The only one that had a little bit of a down game was Jack Sanborn, and it wasn't atrocious. It wasn't like he had a terrible game, but he was weaker for his standard. But then you also got Jalen Johnson, 83.7, Darrell Taylor, 81.7, Jervon Dexter, 73.7, Andrew Billings, 71.1. Obviously, a couple sacks there by those guys. DeMarcus Walker, always being consistent this year, 70.3, Kyler Gordon, Chris Williams. Very solid on the defensive side. Like I said, a very balanced game, offense and defense. And then on pass rush, I know this is small, but I tried to put everyone in there so you can see how everybody did on the pass rush. And all the way over to the win percentage, I want to point out on the very far right, for those who can't see it, I'll mention it. PRP is PFF's pass rush grade, and then win percentage is how much they win against the pass block. So this is huge in this game because seeing anything above 10 is huge. Now, your cornerbacks and your nickelbacks and those guys, they're kind of outliers, so you don't really take that because they're only blitzing on certain plays. They should have high win percentages. And Josh Blackwell obviously had 100%, so that looks really good on paper, but it doesn't mean a whole lot. But what you want to see is these guys like Andrew Billings, 15.0, Darrell Taylor, 15.0, DeMarcus Walker, 13.8, Jervon Dexter, 13.0, Byron Cowart, 23.1. The only negative here... The only negative here is Montez Sweat, and I don't want to pick on him because he's very solid, so this isn't a pick on, but he did have a lower game for him, but it's on a game where literally everybody else was elevated, so you can only say so much negative. The one negative thing here about PFF, guys, is their sack. Their pressures will be correct, and the Bears had 27 pressures in this game. 27. To an offensive line. This is why I can't overstate how huge this game was. The Panthers had allowed 16 pressures through 4 games. The Bears got 27 pressures. I said before the game, this is one of the keys of the game, is to get in on Carolina's #1 rated offensive line for pass block efficiency, and it wasn't even close. They were 94. After this game, Carolina is still #1 in pass blocking efficiency after the Bears had 27 pressures. They came from a 94 pass block efficiency down to 90. That shows how good they've been all year. That shows how elite this defense was in this game. It was phenomenal. The one negative about PFF is they count half sacks as full sacks on here. So it shows we got 6 sacks. We did not get 6 sacks. Okay, and this is one of my issues it's one of my only issues with PFF grades. They don't grade the sacks correctly. We had 4 sacks. They showed us 6. Jervon had 1. and then a couple half stacks between a couple of the other guys split. Billings had the one. So that's a little quiffle I have with them. But overall, the point here, these guys lit it up. The pass rush was amazing in this game. And then to the defensive studs for coverage, look at all those high grades again. Jalen Jones, Kevin Byard, Tremaine Edmonds, Jalen Johnson, Amen Agbagbamiga, TJ Edwards, Kyler Gordon, even Elijah Hicks coming in sparingly. I mean, these guys, there's a couple, like I said, Jack Sanborn had a rougher game for him. He just let a couple of big receptions go in coverage over the middle. Other than that, I mean, he only played 10 snaps. But other than that, I mean, he hits hard. I don't have one problem with Jack Sanborn. In fact, he had the highest PFF grade on the entire team coming into this game. So it's going to level him out a little bit, but he didn't play poorly. But overall, on the entire thing, look at those grades. I mean, NFL passer rating against on the far right, Jalen Jones 39. The pass breakups, 2 by Jalen Jones in 9 snaps and 2 targets. He had 2 pass blocks or 2 pass breakups in 2 opportunities, which is absolutely phenomenal. Jalen Johnson had another big game. Even Tyreek Stevenson, down with a 55 grade, still had a good game. 6 targets, only 1 reception. So, I mean, there's a little quiffle I have there as well. Sometimes the grades don't match. This is one where you need to take the film and I'm going to break down a ton of stuff this week, guys. There was so much from this game. But overall, phenomenal. These guys played phenomenal. And just to highlight the duds, I want to get past this one very quickly, but these guys were below 50. I don't think they necessarily warrant being, having a black mark on them, but just the lowest grades of the game. And then I do point out special teams because it's usually Torrey Taylor having an amazing game. He had 4 punts, only 1 within the 20-yard line, so it was a down game for him, but heck, I'll give him a down game for the game he had last game in Week 4 versus the Rams. I mean, that was like, seriously, he was NFC Special Teams Player of the Week last week, so you get a little pass. He didn't do anything to hurt the team. It just wasn't quite as TNT, Torrey Taylor-esque, but not bad. And then last thing here, I highlight Caleb Williams passing. I go over the last couple games. I highlight here the outside left between the numbers, outside right deep, because that's what he's getting criticized for. And I do that for this specific reason. When he has a big game like this game, then we can highlight how positive it is. My goodness, the haters are out in droves for no reason whatsoever. He dissected. Now, this is where the All-22 is going to come into, and I'm going to do more All-22 this week. I said last week I'm not going to do as much. But what I've done is I've cut back on my Sundays and my weekend when I have my kids. So you guys notice I didn't post anything throughout the entire weekend. It was really just focusing on family time and spending. So that was good for me, balanced for me. Now I'm going to do a lot more during the week because there's a lot to highlight from this. Here's Week 3 for Caleb. I'll let you deduce your own stuff. You can see there the different sections of the field. Here's Week 4. I'm going to go through it quickly, which was, still good. But then here's Week 5, and now the haters are coming up with excuses and reasons to hate him for no reason whatsoever. Because he did, there's what I'm going to show in the All-22, and you guys will see it with other places too. I haven't seen anything come out yet. Maybe it has. I just haven't checked. But the way he looks players off, he is a vet. He is a seasoned vet, the way he looks players off, especially the deep. You see that between the numbers 1 for 1, 30 yards, 1 touchdown, 0 receptions, 158.3 NFL passer rating. That's a perfect passer rating over the middle. Between the numbers deep, that was to DJ Moore. That was the touchdown to DJ Moore. He looks off the defender so, what I mean by that, and I think most of you know, when he looks them off, he's looking the safeties off so they don't cover different areas of the field where he wants to throw it to. He's looking them off to go a different direction he wants them to. He's doing that like Aaron Rodgers, like Brett Favre, like Pat Mahomes. He's doing that like these guys that are seasoned vets. And my goodness, it's fun to watch as a rookie. He's doing that way better than Jaden Daniels. Now, I'm not going to get into the whole Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams things. I've told you guys that before because I do think this is a class. And it's funny, the ones I highlighted were Caleb, Jaden Daniels, Bo Nix. Those were the 3 main ones I highlighted, and they're all playing really well in the NFL level. I said there's going to be multiple good quarterbacks in this class. That's what I said about this year's class. So it's coming to fruition. But you look at these, 1 for 1 over the middle, 2 for 3 outside right, another touchdown. 1 for 1 intermediate right, 1 for 4, 0 for 2. So, yeah, I can improve a little bit there. But, you look at overall, he was 20 for 29, and I think one of them was the throwaway, so 20 for 28. And one big drop by DJ Moore. His adjusted completion percentage was 75 for this game, which is very good, very high. I keep referencing Jordan Love and how terrible he is. It's because he's the worst accurate quarterback. That's accuracy. That's PFF's grade for accuracy. 75 is very solid, so that's good by Caleb. So I'm really, really happy with his progress. Very little pressure put on him during this game, and it allowed him to open up. So if this line can keep that up, he's going to be in really, really good shape and develop much quicker than anybody expected, much quicker than anticipated. He can have that learning curve shortened down, and that's what we wanted with putting a superstar cast around him, was to be able to help him develop quicker. So I'm very happy with this game. That's just a quick overview of the PFF grades, of the highlights of this game and where they stand. I'm going to do a lot more things this week, specifically starting with Jervon Dexter, starting with the pass rush because that was huge, then the pass blocking, and then I'll do small 22 of Caleb. I'll do some stuff this week. Let me know your guys' thoughts on this game in the comment. This was a huge win. Don't let anybody downplay this because it was huge. 36-10. And everything about it, they attacked all the positive things of the Panthers. They showed the elite level the Bears can play on both offense and defense, and this is very exciting for this team moving forward. Don't downplay this one bit. This was a huge win. With that, hope you guys have a good week. Try to get the stuff out to you as soon as I can. Continue to enjoy this team because it's fun, and bear down and dabears.